Gresham's law is a very important concept that everyone should know. And it means quite simply, bad money drives out good. And most people have no idea that dozens of countries, their fiat currencies have crashed, collapsed, or hyperinflated over the years, and all of them seem to have a limited lifespan before eventually collapsing. This is a picture of my mom. She was born just after peak hyperinflation in Germany. Then she went through the Second World War, and she had crazy stories of farmers who were trading food for luxury items with rich people that they used in the barns for their cows because they had so many rugs and luxury items. Now, when people lose faith in paper money, bartering becomes rampant. Many people think that money as we know it, the paper stuff, is somehow tied to something that has value, like gold, for example, and that paper money is a contract of gold that exists somewhere out there. Now, absolutely not true. In fact, the USA completely abandoned the gold standard, as it is called, back in 1971. So the value of money is whatever you think that it's worth. Now, there are many examples when the populace lost confidence in money to the point of literally needing a wheelbarrow of currency to buy a loaf of bread. Now, this is an actual German banknote from the 1920s. It is a 20 Millionen Mark bill, which is 20 million marks. Now, Germany's hyperinflation was certainly bad at 29,500%, but the top winner for inflation was Hungary with an incredible 41.9 quintillion inflation rate back in 1946. Their prices literally doubling every 15 hours. Now, way back in 1933, a very based President Hoover said, "We have gold because we can't trust governments." Now, gold, as a standard, acts as a limiting mechanism that prevents governments from just printing money, which is basically what many governments, including the USA, are doing today, and what other countries have done throughout history with nasty consequences. Now, yes, the USA currently has the world's reserve currency. That shores up the dollar considerably. But guess what? There have been multiple reserve currencies throughout history. All of them had limited lifespans and eventually died. But let's go back to Gresham's law. Sir Thomas Gresham was an English financier back in the mid-1500s. He made the observation that bad money drives out good. Now, what is the meaning of good money? So good money is money that shows little to no difference between its commodity value, which is the value of the stuff that money is actually made from, and its nominal value, which is what the currency suggests that it's worth by its face value. So in the case of our paper money, what is the actual value of this piece of paper? Of course, it's fractions of a penny. It's only because we all agree and trust the government that this piece of paper is worth anything more than the paper it's printed on. But it wasn't always that way. At the birth of the USA back in 1792, the U.S. Mint was established, and they minted coins that were made from silver. Now, that continued with various concentrations of actual silver up until 1965, when all of the silver content was removed from the nickels and the dimes through passage of the Coinage Act. Now, people eventually realized the actual value of the silver in these coins, the commodity value, was worth more than its nominal value, what was printed on the coin. So people started to hoard any of these pre-1965 coins that were known to have silver content. And today, you almost never see any of those coins in circulation. And if you do, hold on to them because they are worth many times their actual face value. Now, many people today who worry that paper currency could become worthless, they actually buy bags of these old silver coins, which is called junk silver. They buy it as an investment and as protection against currency collapse. Now, back in 2018, $500 face value of silver dimes cost $5,500. Today, in 2023, those same dimes will cost you over $16,000, and that's if you can find them, as many of these places are completely sold out of junk silver. Now, this is a great example of Gresham's law, where $500 face value of silver dimes today will cost you over $16,000. and people are hoarding them, and they're very hard to find. Again, an example of bad money driving out the good. The question is, if our own currency value continues to erode through inflation, and the debt is now over $31 trillion, will we see people starting to hoard pennies for the copper value like they did with quarters, nickels, and dimes in the past? Well, it's actually already happening. Canada actually stopped making pennies years ago, likely for that very reason and the cost, and coin content has changed over time to keep ahead of Gresham's law. For example, pennies in the U.S. were made of 95% copper up until 1982. 1983 pennies were 97% zinc and plated with a thin copper coating. Now, this made sense because the value of the copper went up. Anyone could simply buy the pennies and hoard them or illegally melt them and make a profit because Gresham's law always drives the good money underground. Now, the USA actually loses millions still today making the penny, as it costs over 2 cents to produce it, and that number is likely to increase as inflation continues. Now, in fact, you can actually purchase a machine from Rydale Enterprises that will automatically sort your pre-1982 copper pennies from the zinc ones in bulk. So you could technically go to the bank, get $100 worth of pennies, double your money on the copper pennies, as currently the copper value is about 2 cents, roll up and return the non-coppers, and get yourself another $100 and repeat. And occasionally, there's a lot of people on YouTube who did this, you'll find some treasures in there of rare coins that are included. Obviously, copper prices are too low now. You're not going to retire off this money, and the dollar is still relatively strong enough that this is too much work for too little money. But that situation could change. Now, a great website to check the actual commodity value of coins in your pocket is coinflation.com. They give the current metal value versus nominal value. So what can we really learn from Gresham's law? Well, one of the things is that fiat currency eventually becomes worth just the paper that it's printed on. And we have to wonder, could we be headed to the same fate as all these other fiat currencies? Now, even the most skeptical should realize it's not a bad idea to hold on to some good money in case of emergencies. And could we soon be using a $1 million bill to buy a loaf of bread like so many countries before us?